Hi, good morning. Good morning. Good Sunday morning. I'm going to show you how I do Crispo's challenge of this morning. And what he's asking for is look up subjects where at least 2 students scored 90 or above, like here. And dynamic array functions allowed, but extra marks for legacy array functions or power query solutions. So I'm going to do something, I guess it's unexpected. I think so. I won't get any points for this at all. But I'm going to show you how I think through it. Now, I've chosen this method on the basis of what is easy to teach, what is easy to learn, and what anyone who doesn't have advanced Excel skills can apply time and time again. And I'm going to do this as I always do, which is to understand the question first and to be able to describe it. And in doing that, I already have the solution. All right. So this is how we're going to start. And I'm going to start like this. Sub Crispo is the greatest. We start with a true statement, right? And what we're going to do is we're going to go down this column to begin with and decide whether this is a subject that needs to be in this. Now let me clear that. Subject that should be in that or not. All right, so let's start. The first thing we need to say is we need to start from this top left-hand corner. We're going to loop through each of these and decide whether each of these columns qualify. And then we're going to add it to whatever is in that. Hang on a minute, I've taken off the formatting. Silly me. Let's put the formatting back. Right. Okay, Crispo is the greatest. So what I'm going to do is we're going to loop through from here to here, right? And to do that, we're going to first define where we're going to start, and it's I row equals 4. And we're going to also say I call equals 3, because that's the top left-hand corner. And we want to loop through, this is how we do loop through. While cells I row, cells I row, I call value is not a blank loop. And before we forget, because we always tend to do that until we get an error, so make sure we do that to begin with so that we know that we're not going to go wrong. All right, so we're going to loop through, and this, when I run that, fine. Okay, I get an error. That means it's great. So what we now need to do is we need to test whether the score is greater or equal to, in this case, 90, but let's reference it to I4, range I4. Okay, so if cells I row, I call value greater or equal to range, what did we say? I4. Oops. I4 value, then what do we want to do? Well, what we want to do here is we want to have a counter, and I'm going to call that I count, you count. We all count We all count. In a democracy, we all count, okay? So I count equals 0. We're going to start with I count equals 0. And then if that condition is satisfied, I count equals I count plus 1, okay? Increments it by 1. And that should give me the answer that I want. So let's do a message box. I count just for laughs, just to test, and let's hit the save button in case things go really wrong. 2. We're on a roll. We're on a roll, right? So, okay. So we don't want it in a message box. What we really want is we want it in range J4. Oops. We don't want I count. We want in range J4. We want the value that's in range. Sorry, we don't even want to say that. We want to say cells row 3 and I call. How about that, huh? My typing has to improve. It's another one. What happened there? It's the dot. Okay, right. So let's see what happens now. Just make sure that J4 is empty. Actually, I can do this, can't I? And let's give it a shot. Ooh, right. Now, what's the next step? We're going to make this happen on every column, right? So we need another loop, and we need that other loop here. Do while cells row 3 I call value is not blank, right? So loop ends here, and as always, let's make sure that we don't forget to do this. Right, now I always instruct that we indent nested loops so that we can see what's going on. Right. So this should go row by row, and on each of these goes to the next row. I count is zeroed, so that this should all work. And this needs to be modified because we want that cell not to be replaced, but we want it concatenated with what is already in that cell. And this will do the trick. But we also need if Crispo says we need a semicolon there, then we need a semicolon there. Right. We also need this I row to be kind of initialized with a 4 each time we go around in each column, right? And also, let's also be really, really good by doing this, by starting off by clearing this. Oops, this. What do you want to do? Clear contents? Clear contents, right? Yeah, we start off by clearing this so we don't have to keep doing that every time. We did that for one last time. Okay. All right. So I think we're done, aren't we? Aren't we done? Nope. We're not done because we forgot the conditional here. We only want it listed if the most important thing. The most important thing, if I count is greater or equal to, oops, to 2, then, how can we forget that? Right? It's only if it's more than 2. Crispo, the greatest, is saying that subject needs to be listed. All right, let's give it a shot. And there's one other thing we need to do, but I want you to see what it is when it comes up. Right. I don't know if you spotted it already. I have. Because I have. There you go. But there's a problem there. Right. It's not the problem that I was looking for. Right. Not the problem I was expecting. Right, so if it's more than 2, we want range J4 value to be incremented by, and let's be lazy here, incremented by, not incremented by, what's in range, we want range, what's in range J4 to have added to it, concatenated, cells I row, no, I row, we're going to cells 3 I call value, right? And also we want to add to the end of it. Why? Because Crispo says we need a semicolon at the end there. So now let's see what happens. Actually didn't need to do that. Right. Okay, so let's try and run that. And we get exactly what we're expecting. And there you can see the thing that I said that we need to fix. What do we need to fix? Because at the end of this, we got an extra semicolon. Crispo's not going to like that, is he? So what we need to do here is a neat trick. And right at the end of all of this, let's go and say range J4 value and oops. I love this keyboard shortcuts. Control C, Control V. That's all you need. No, not really. Control X and Control Z, not W, Z. Gosh. It's I think it's Control Z, the most used key on my keyboard. Right. So what we need to do is we need to cut off the last. We need to cut off the last 2 characters, and this is how we do this. Look. -2, not -1, -2, because there's a space there, right? Do you think we've got there? I think we've got there, right? If I'm wrong, I'll give you £1 million, right? If I'm wrong. There. So what? So all right. So what we got here is. Shall we test it out? Shall we test it out? Okay, let's test it out, right? So I'm going to change these guys here. Look at this guy, right? 50. We're going to make that 85, 92. And we're going to do another one as well. Let's do another one. and we're going to make this 95, right? And now let's run it. What should happen? Maths, physics, and chem. And yeah, that's correct, yeah? Because this one, although we made it 95, there's only 1 over 90 here. Look, the reason I'm showing you this is because a lot of the answers that are given to challenges like this are very, very advanced. And I don't really understand why we're doing something in the most difficult way when it can be done in a very simple way. And I haven't done anything more here than describing the problem here while I was doing it, right? I'm thinking in my head what needs to be done. I'm thinking in first principles. And while I'm documenting it on this what's it called, the IDE, while I'm documenting it, I'm actually solving it, right? So my thought process is intrinsically integrated with the solution I'm looking for. And anyone, I think anyone who has understood the problem and can describe it will get the answer or get the solution that I got. And all these things that I've used there are reusable, and they're very simple. They're like looping, right? It's a simple thing. Anyone who works with Excel should understand what looping is. And looping in columns, looping in columns, looping down columns, looping across rows, and looping around a range, right? Like we've done here in two nested loops. And then having an if statement that will check for some conditional, and then what should happen there. Maybe it's an increasing account like we've done here, or some other comparison. It can be anything. But this is like first principles that can be applied to any problem, right? And if you give this to a beginner, if you teach a beginner how to do this, there will be super at Excel from the very beginning, right? Unlike if you needed to learn dynamic arrays or Power Query, DAX functions and, dynamic array function, all those, that's a long way down the line. And many people don't get there. Many people are at the beginner stage, and these beginner stage people, I'm saying, can grasp this, right? I'm willing to put my reputation, I don't have a reputation, but I'm willing to put, my lunch, okay? I'm willing to bet my lunch. If I'm wrong, I'm not going to have any lunch today, all right? You can have it. So anyone, I'm betting that anyone who's just started Excel and, has no more than like 3 or 6 months experience with Excel can learn how to solve problems like Crispo's posted here, and anybody, and I see on a daily basis from Excel BI, and Omid, I did one, I think, last week or the week before, right? So from time to time, I'll be trying to solve these problems in first principles so that beginners can learn, and it's teachable and it's learnable. That's the point. All right, so thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I still get to have my lunch. Bye.